Welcome to Glass Half Full with Leslie Krongold. She shares her stories, experiences, and knowledge of living and coping with a chronic health condition. Learn about tools and resources and hear inspirational interviews that help you to live a life filled with quality and dignity. With 2 decades of support group leadership, Leslie's ready to help you make lemonade out of life's lemons. Are you ready?
Hello. Welcome to this podcast episode where I'll be sharing more of my pandemic experience with you. A couple of months ago, I interviewed 2 people affiliated with BORP. That's B-O-R-P, and it stands for Bay Area Outreach for Recreational Programs. BORP is an amazing organization that has really stepped it up during this bleak 2020 by providing online classes. But BORP is not the only group helping us cope physically and emotionally. Today you'll learn about 2 other nonprofit organizations, Dance for All Bodies and the Wheelchair Dancers Organization. My first guests are Yagmur, Halezeroglu, and Tess Hanson. They are the co-founders and co-directors of Dance for All Bodies, which you'll hear them speak about as the acronym DFAB. I found out about this online dance program through friends I met at Rumba with Tina, which I attend on Saturday mornings. It's an online dance class. And DFAB is relatively new and features a variety of professional dance instructors teaching accessible dance in a variety of styles, such as salsa, flamenco, Brazilian hip-hop, contemporary ballet, urban jazz, diaspora, and chair tap. These classes are fun, they're educational, and it's a good workout. So I asked Yagmur and Tess how they met. How did you 2 meet?
This is a fun story. So Yagmur and I both went to UC-Berkeley, and we just so happened to apply to the same job our freshman year, on-campus job. It's one of the best jobs I think we've ever had. We worked for Cal Performances, which is like a theater venue in the Bay Area, and we were front of house staff. So we were ushers and then assistant house managers. But we met fall semester of our freshman year at our work orientation. And I remember Yagmur had this lime green backpack that I can just see it in the hall where we sat and learned about what our job would be. But yeah, it was honestly very chance, and just from working together through all 4 years of college and learning that we both really love dance and have a lot of passion for the arts and things like that, we just kind of became friends.
So were you both dance majors?
No, but I think we both grew up being pursuing dance. We're both very lucky in the sense that we came from families that made that possible for us. I've danced my whole life from being age 3 to age 23 now. And I think Yagmur has too. And we both were very active in the Berkeley dance community.
Tell me how Dance for All Bodies came about.
I'll go first. So Dance for All Bodies started, the inspiration behind the organization came from a one-time dance class I organized while working as a volunteer at Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital, I was working with a multidisciplinary orthopedic clinical team providing care specifically for amputees. And I was in charge of organizing monthly amputee support groups, attending weekly clinic visits, and following up with our patients, making sure that they're on track and that they get all the support they need. So while working in that community, it was my first time working with the amputee community. I learned that they would like to have a dance class for one of the amputee support groups. And I was totally excited about the idea as a dancer, and I thought, that'd be really cool. But at that time, I had no idea what adaptive dance was, what inclusive dance was, what physically integrated dance could look like, because personally I've always been in dance spaces where people looked like me, who were non-disabled, who had certain kind of ability, certain kind of body. So it was something new that I had to learn about. And when I learned about it, I think that's when I realized that, there is a gap and there is a problem with the way we view dance right now. Yes, dance should be for all bodies. Dance is for everyone. And it's not only about saying that, but it's also about taking action and making change to actually support what you believe in. So then Tess and I put our minds together and started working on this project when we came across a social impact innovation contest at Berkeley called Big Ideas. And that with that competition, we started thinking about, how can we scale the idea of this dance class I organized for an amputee support group with the help of the wonderful Access Dance Company in Oakland. And so we initially started the project as dance classes for people with physical disabilities, specifically working with amputees. And then it has transitioned. The community has grown over time in a way that we could not have imagined. And it has taught so much to us about the disability community. We're both, again, we don't have any disabilities. We don't identify as a disabled person, but it's something that I've been very sensitive to and grown aware of and constantly try to learn about and learn about allyship in the community and how we can best support and create this space. But yeah, I'll see if Tess has anything to add to that.
I have one question. When you were in Turkey, you were involved with an organization for the blind?
Yeah, so in high school, I volunteered. That was the first time that I started working with the disability community, if we go way back. So I grew up in Istanbul. I studied there until high school, and then I came to the US for college. But in high school, I was volunteering for a charity for the blind. I taught English to students preparing for the English, for the university exam, who were low vision or blind. I worked in the library to help record audiobooks and mail them to cities all over the country. And that experience really made me aware of the lack of resources and the lack of integration of individuals, low vision and blind individuals in our community. And I realized, until that experience, I didn't have friends who were blind or who were low vision. They weren't around me, and that I didn't feel positive about that, and I wanted to change that. I want to create a society where people of all abilities can participate and be involved. And so, yeah, that was my first experience in that community. And actually, a funny story, I also play piano. So one day I was playing piano and I saw a lot of the students in the charity came into the room, and then one of them started playing, and then all of a sudden they all started dancing together. So I still have that memory in my mind too, but yeah.
Okay, Tess, you're on.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I have to add about like the origin of DFAB is that I actually went to one of the first classes that Yagmur organized at SFGH, the hospital. And I had such a fun and like good time that when Yagmur asked me like, hey, do you want to help me write this really big proposal? I was like, of course. That was great. Let's do it. Definitely had no idea how far we would take it or that we would, win some funding. Like it, we were just imagining, and we worked really hard on it, and we're still here. And then I'll add that my sort of first introduction to the disability community is actually through my brother. I have two brothers. They're twins, and one of them is autistic. So that's been, James is just a part of my life, and I'm very used to it. But I think having James as my brother definitely I've learned a lot about not everything in the disability community because it's such a huge community, but I am aware of some of the challenges that come with disability and not feeling like there are resources that fit every person. But yeah.
Now that both Yagmur and Tess have graduated college, I was curious to know how they envision the future of DFAB.
We were just like, we'll just take it wherever it goes, and we'll just go with the flow with it. And, there's never a pressure to make it perfect. We're always just like, we'll take it a day by day. We'll do our best, and we'll keep growing. So
I think when we won, at least I definitely naively thought that we would win. We won the award, and then, okay, we'll need a year to like get it sorted out. And it's been like it was a wonderful first year, but like so many ups and downs. And I think we definitely it feels very much like a work in progress, a good, worthy work in progress. But yeah, it's taking way longer than a year, Tess. You silly girl.
So when you started it, you had classes in person, right?
Yes.
Was it at the BORP at Roberts campus?
Mm-hmm. That's where the majority of our classes were, which was a really wonderful space. BORP is so friendly and welcoming. We are really thankful to work with them. But yeah, once the pandemic hit, our lives just changed as everybody else's did, and we had to kind of scatter, and they were like, well, let's try online, and here we are.
Yeah, and I would imagine your audience has really grown because of that, because it now is even more accessible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So how did you go about finding dance instructors? Did you know most of these people, or word of mouth? How did that happen?
So a combination of all of that. I think the first time we got in touch with Stephanie, who was our first instructor, I went through Judith Smith, one of the founders of Access Dance Company, and she was kind enough to meet up with me at a cafe in Oakland and talk to me as I was trying to go through, how can we do this? How can we build this? And she suggested a couple of names, a couple of instructors who might want to teach a class, and Stephanie was the first one. And then after that, I think we got involved with Jean-P because I saw that he was teaching a class at BORP, which I really enjoyed, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe he'll want to do a class with Dance for All Bodies. And then after that, just through word of mouth and some research, we came across so many dancers with disabilities who are doing fantastic work in their fields. And we were like, this is what we want to do. We want to connect all these dancers who have great experiences choreographing, teaching with the community, because everyone can benefit from their skills and their experiences.
I noticed that you're now looking for partnerships and sponsorships. Tell me about that next chapter, what's evolving.
Yeah. So, one of the big challenges that we are facing as an organization right now is how to manage our finances. So we have this initial grant or award from the Big Ideas competition, and we did a crowdfunding campaign that we met our goal in, and we did that in late March, early April. But besides that, we don't really have a source of revenue beyond donations. And we are realizing this is something we need to approach and think about. So having a partner or some sort of sponsorship, we think would help us gain a little stability in that front. It would also hopefully enable us to be able to eventually start compensating people for their work and time. We pay our teachers, but Yagmur and I and the team that we work with and who support Dance for All Bodies, they don't, they volunteer their time, and we would like to be able to honor that in a more substantial way. I think the partners partnerships can be like, there could be some sort of financial part to it, but also simply like being able to bring our classes to new audiences. That would be incredible, because we want to be able to spread what we are doing beyond like our little bubble of like the people we know. So it'd be great to partner with a hospital and provide regular classes for maybe people who have recently had a limb amputated.
Mm-hmm.
Or I think it'd be great to have some sort of adaptive dance, inclusive dance in schools. I feel like everybody has tried to get dance in schools, but I want to believe that we will do that. we will make that bridge and like fortify it. So those are two organizations that to me seem full of possibility. It's like a way we can reach people, but honestly, we're down to be creative. You never know.
I asked Yagmur and Tess how they feel about the past year and all of their accomplishments.
I think the best accomplishments are the moments where we hear someone say, wow, this made my day, this class made my day, this community has meant so much to me. I have been able to connect with people like myself who I don't get to interact with that often. Mm-hmm. So those kind of comments, I think, are the biggest accomplishments, but I'll let Tess share some of our other.
I totally agree. Hearing what people feel after the class, sometimes we get, constructive critique, but we also get some really lovely messages that I think kind of provide the fire to like keep going, because there's definitely moments where I like kind of question like, can I do this? What is happening? Is this possible? So that feels like an accomplishment. I think I'm really proud of the partnership, the week long of classes we had with Wheel the World, which is an awesome accessible travel organization. It was really, they were super on board when we came to them with the idea, and that I don't think we've ever planned so many classes in rapid succession, and it was great. And we were able to connect with people all over the world, and it was really fun. I'm really proud that we were able to manage that in the middle of a pandemic.
As you can tell, these young women are quite inspiring. I had just assumed they were both dance majors, but they weren't. Yagmur was studying cognitive science and hopes to pursue medical school, and Tess studied environmental health and policy and is currently doing field work for a water conservation group. You can learn more about their organization by checking the links on the Glass Half Full website. My next guest is Anya Flatow. I met Anya earlier this year because she was one of the instructors in an island fusion dance class I took, offered through the Wheelchair Dancers Organization, or WDO. WDO was founded in 2008 in San Diego, California by Beverly Wording, a woman who has limb-girdle muscular dystrophy. Anya's been attending WD classes for the last 4 years. So I first asked Anya about the organization.
We get a lot of wheelchair users. We definitely do. I mean, if you look at the name, it says Wheelchair Dancers Organization. So wheelchair users are naturally going to be like drawn to that because of the title. But the classes themselves are for people with disabilities, people who don't identify as having disabilities. So like when we're teaching or when we're dancing ballroom, the idea is to have one roller, we call them rollers, and then one walker as partners when we have the classes.
So tell me about your love of dance. How did it start? What were you drawn to?
Yeah, so my parents are from Poland, and I remember, well, let's backtrack a little bit. So when I was in high school, I had a friend who was addicted to dance. I was an athlete. I was the one that would rather be hitting people in their wheelchairs and playing rugby. You know what I mean? Like I thought I was a badass, right? So I had this friend and he was like, I want to participate in our talent show and I want to dance. And he drags me and he's like, we should do wheelchair dance. And I knew nothing about it. The concept to me was like completely foreign. And I remember we practiced and I practiced in my like basketball chair because I was playing basketball at the time. And to be honest with you, like to be completely transparent, I felt so uncomfortable because like he was like pulling my arm and I felt like my arm was gonna like get pulled out of my socket and it was just like the most uncomfortable feeling. But at the end of that talent show, I was so uncomfortable that I wanted to figure out how to do it right. And so I started kind of seeking the concept, like seeking different ways that wheelchair dance could be done right. I wanted to be like, okay, how can we do this right so that I don't have to pull my arm out of my socket? So one summer, I mentioned that my parents are from Poland. One summer, I took a trip, with my family to Poland to see family. And my parents found this dance camp for wheelchair ballroom. And
Wow.
yeah, it was so cool. And before I even joined the camp, I was like, my parents explained to me, they were like, well, we're going to sign you up for this thing. And I was like, whatever, like, I'm an athlete. I'm going to like dance circles around these people, whatever. Like, I'll do it just because I don't want to be bored. Girl, these dancers, let me tell you, every single one of them we were dancing for probably like 6 hours a day at least, and they were training for the world championship. So these are like the best dancers in the world who were doing ballroom, and they kicked my butt. Like I was like, oh, okay, so there's something to this thing. And I remember like feeling like challenged in a way that I was like, this is something that I can see myself doing and trying and getting better at. So yeah, that's where my love for wheelchair ballroom started. I was like, I loved it. I loved the challenge, but I also started to, the days went by, I started to feel more and more comfortable with my body. And I started to feel a sense of like, okay, this is my body. This is how I move. And I started to feel like this oneness, if that makes sense, that I had never felt before playing sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I think I found my thing, So I was in high school, and I think it was like my senior year of high school. I can't remember. How old we are when we graduate high school.
17, 18 years old. But
Something
did
like
it,
that, yeah.
did it
So,
influence what you studied in college? Because I read you studied sports science,
mhm,
kinesiology.
yeah, yep. So yeah, it was before all of that happened, and I actually got into those fields because of the wheelchair dance,
Mm.
and I wanted to kind of shine a light on wheelchair dance in the States because I wasn't seeing what I saw in Poland. I wasn't seeing the drive to be like at the top of, you know, of the world in wheelchair dance in the States. And so I was just like, I want to expand and do something. And so I continued, when I came back to the States. I did ballroom. I practiced in different studios, did some routines. Ever since that dance camp, I've just been doing dance or something dance related because I love it. And I love the way it like just makes me feel like I am centered, in a world where, you know, I don't know, sometimes you just feel like this like disconnect with your body, being a person with a disability and also like being paralyzed. Like sometimes you're like, I don't know if I can feel what other people do. Dance just solidifies that for me. Like I just feel so present and centered that, yeah, I think I'm going to be doing it for the rest of my life. I teach a dance fitness format called World of Dance UJAM. We are It's always been UJAM Fitness, but recently, a couple of years ago, we partnered with World of Dance, which is like this massive network for dancers. And many of the dancers who come from World of Dance and many of the songs that we do in World of Dance UJAM are very like urban. Like there's an urban feel to them, like hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And so when when COVID hit, I was like, how am I going to get my fitness on and how am I going to like do something, that has some kind of quality in it. And I was toying with the idea of teaching virtually because I was seeing my colleagues do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I create this Facebook group for teaching virtual fitness, World of Dance UJAM specifically. And the name is Cat Daddies and Crew Virtual Fitness with Anya. There's a hip hop dance move called the Cat Daddy. And it kind of looks like you're rolling a wheelchair. So when you do the Cat Daddy, you kind of do like this movement of a wheelchair.
Ah,
Like you're pushing a wheelchair. Yeah. So
huh.
I was trying to find a creative way of like honoring the culture and honoring like what the like where hip hop came from and what it means to actually be urban and like have some kind of ode to the dance movement and be creative and not just be like, this is an inclusive dance fitness,
Right.
I don't want to be the same as everybody else, and I wanted to do something that honored the things that I do, the things that I teach, because I really believe in honoring the culture and what the background of every dance format that I've either taught or learned. So yeah. So cat daddies are wheelchair users, and then the crew members are pretty much like everybody else. So it'd be like in wheelchair dancers organization, they have rollers and walkers when they describe rollers and walkers. Me, when I'm like talking about my modifications for class, I say, okay, cat daddies, you do this. And then the rest of you, my crew members, you do this. That's kind of like my way of like, this is for you. This is for you. Yeah. I don't know if it's clicked yet. I don't know if it's clicked yet, but you know, that's what I try to do.
Well, you're going to put it out here now, so you know.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where that comes from. Like, I know, like.
So there you go. I learned something about hip hop. Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? You can find out more about Anya's Cat Daddy and crew on Facebook. I've got a link to her group in the podcast notes, and her YouTube live classes are free. Anya told me she likes the accessibility features that are available on YouTube, such as the captioning. If you have any questions about modifications for the dance moves, Anya is more than welcome to meet with you virtually to suggest options that might work better for you. I hope you enjoyed this episode, but more important, I hope you check out the dance classes available at Dance for All Bodies, Wheelchair Dancers Organization, and Anya's World of Dance UJAM. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Glass Half Full. Leslie invites you to leave a rating and review on iTunes. This helps spread the word to others dealing with chronic health issues. For show notes, updates, and more, visit the website glasshalffull.online. Glasshalffull.online.